Some of you may have heard the 911 call that was placed the night that Demi Moore was hospitalized. We heard that call and we were disturbed by it, and we're going to take a stand here on our show and say that unequivocally we do not feel as physicians that 911 calls should be sent out to be broadcast, because what happens in this particular call is very personal information is shared, and there's no relationship where fiduciary responsibility is greater than the physician-patient relationship. And I would argue that extends to the 911 system, because the minute you call 911, you are saying, I need help. You become a patient. And
that should not be public.
No, it should be considered personal and confidential, just like a personal
medical
record.
information is a completely private thing. 911 calls now are an exception, and we don't think that's right.
It should come under the same HIPAA and privacy and confidentiality.
And what's interesting is some people will say, well, it's a public service. 911 is a public service, so the call should be made public. But it should be a public service that is private, and we are going to urge that Congress takes this up. But given that that tape was released, everyone out there is, of course, wondering what's going on, and I think we should at least try to bring to light what some of these issues may or may not be, some dangers that you need to look out for at home. Let me explain to everyone what we're talking about when we say synthetic marijuana. Whether or not Demi Moore was using a synthetic marijuana, again, this is all alleged, but these things can result from quote-unquote over-the-counter synthetic drugs. Fortunately, the DEA is cracking down on these. They're less and less available, but these were spices that you could go buy in shops throughout the country as incense or spice, and they would come in little bags. The main component, similar to THC, which is the cannabinoid that gives marijuana its effect, but here's the thing, 10 times stronger, but these synthetic marijuanas are also laced with chemicals. Each and every one may be laced with something different. So typical or atypical reactions like seizures, severe anxiety, racing heart, these are not typical with marijuana.
Those severe reactions you don't see.
So there's chemicals in these synthetic substances. We don't even know what they are half the time. If someone comes into the emergency department, they're vomiting, they're convulsing, they're having these bizarre reactions, they're not mentating. Usually we throw our hands up because we don't really know what it was they took. Some sort of synthetic material.
Yeah, your reaction to these drugs can be very unpredictable, because each time you try one, it can be something very different.
We're not saying she did this. This is allegedly, and just trying to give information on some of the things that, you know, that they're putting out there so that people can get informed about that.
And quite honestly, I think it's really important to note that these synthetic marijuanas were available over the counter. It was only after we started to see more and more people coming to hospitals across the country that we realized we need to regulate this stuff.
And we've watched Demi over the years, because she started as a teenager in, you know, in television and movies, and she's now 49. And, you know, maybe she's going through a hard time because people see her getting a lot thinner, and so they think that might be related to relationship issues. Because as women, you know, a lot of times things affect us, and we either get too thin, which can affect periods and bone health and things like that, or we result in eating too much. It's like you almost can't win.
And looking at pictures of her more recently, a picture taken 6 months ago, and then a picture now, I mean, that's a pretty dramatic shift. And if you're losing that kind of weight in the face of a crisis, you need to make sure you're getting professional help.
But if women see other women that may, you know, be reaching out for help, best thing is to not speculate about this and that.
Right.
Try to help them.
Absolutely. I think we should talk about 911 not being public anymore.
Yes, exactly.
I think it's time.